I'm out working this late afternoon in the field down the road, doing some onion harvest, doing some tomato harvest, some potato harvest, and thought it would be a fun opportunity to do an update on what's happening in this field. So this is where we grow our garlic at scale, as well as lots and lots of potatoes and also some nursery crops. In this video I want to go a little deep dive, a wandering tour as to what is happening here. We grew around 8,000 or so heads of really beautiful organically grown garlic here this summer. You can see some of these beds that were followed up. So these two beds were both in garlic, and now they're in this luscious cover crop of buckwheat for pollinators and to rebuild soil in a nice way. Here are two beds that the day of garlic harvest, they were transitioned into multiple rows of direct sown beets, as well as transplants of radicchio and cabbage. We offer this seed garlic to folks. We offer it both local pickup and also for shipping. And we made the announcement the other day about this. Got a lot of lovely orders. We're actively shipping that garlic to folks right now. We still have about 150 pounds of seed left. So if you want really high quality, human scale, permaculturally grown, resilient garlic at, I think, the lowest price in the United States, the link will be down in the description or right here. And the last few days, we'll take orders for the last few days here, and then we'll close it up and move on with things and get it all shipped out. It'll be hard to try to figure out how to hone in and do a very organized tour in the space. In some ways it's pretty chaotic. It's very wonderful, really, really productive. Definitely a little bit weedy, even though we're putting so much effort into maintaining these garden beds. But let me zoom in on just one bed, like this one right in front of me. So this is about a 3 or 4 foot, maybe a 4 foot wide bed. So these are permanent raised beds. We're committing to these long, simple beds where we rob the walkways to feed the beds, and then we refill the walkways with mulch. So round bales of hay or wood chips or leaf bags in the fall. And this bed has some really high value, beautiful nursery activities going on. There's a row of direct sown shipmast black locusts. So these were hot water bath scarified in the spring. A seed of select cultivar shipmast black locust. So hopefully September 1st, when we open up for the fall, we'll be able to offer quite a number of these. They take quite a bit of TLC and weeding early on, and then they start to just take off like a rocket. There's almost 1,000 in here. The center of this bed has cultivar European hazelnuts that were direct sown this spring, as well as cuttings of black currants that were put through the middle. So this is a bed for the first 20 feet or so that is soundly in the realm of perennial nursery focus. There's 3 or 4 different types of plants all doing nursery work here. As we go down the line, so right now I'm heading east, fun little tomatillo in here transitions the center of the bed. We still have the shipmast locust for a little bit, these lovely bean looking baby trees. They'll be giant trees within their lifetime. And it transitions into something that's just, to me, so beautiful. Baby peaches. I mean, so many peaches. So there are peaches right down the center of this line. These were transplanted in the spring from overwintered peach seed that we had stored, and they are flanked in onions on both sides. These onions, some beds worked really well. I'm going to show some very, very happy onion beds in a moment, but these are, they're growing, they're doing their thing. These we started from seed in February. There's actually a few really nice onions in there. I'm not going to complain about an onion that size, but what I found over time, onions are beautiful and wonderful. They require a lot of nutrient, and for a field that you don't irrigate at all, you really have to keep up with the weeds and really mulch the onions. And it's tough, 1.5 acre context, and this is one of our 4 farming spaces to give the level of TLC that the onions need. That said, we have onions we're harvesting that are working really nicely as well. Some that are smaller, but they're still there. And there's a bed that I'm just working on right now that I'm just thrilled with how well these are coming out. There's a friend of the channel, this fellow Wyatt, if you're watching this, he reached out this spring and said, I have extra starts of onions I don't need for my farm. He shipped them along. We sent him some elderberry cuttings as a thank you, and these are them. They really worked out. There's probably about 1,000 or more red onions and pink sweet onions, white onions that are sized up in a lovely way. So this bed, I think, was just a bit more fertile, and we were a little bit better on top of the weeds last year. We had this in good brassica cover crop, and then put in these pretty robust starts of the onions this spring, mulched with a lot of grass clippings. And they're laying down now and the weeds are starting to come up. So it's really time before the stalks get weak enough. Like once they lay down, or a lot of them lay down, I think it's time to harvest. For those of you that do onions commercially or do them really well, let me know if I'm missing something here. But there's a few still standing, but a lot laying down. So we're going to get these out, and then tomorrow morning I'll come back with some tubs of water and transplants of some chard, some broccoli, and some cabbage, and we'll fill this bed right back out, put a bunch of compost, water them in, and mulch like crazy. When you see the state of the plants in this field, overall it's really productive, but some of them are sitting still or they're holding on and not exactly exploding. Keep in mind, this is a demonstration of farming without any irrigation at all. I mean, we bring tubs of water in order to get transplants going, but that's it. We don't really follow up with watering, so there's no drip irrigation or anything. You'll notice there's no plastic at all. Pretty important. I think anyone farming with plastic as a mulch, do explore it and learn about it a little bit more. It is not really a lovely system. There's a lot of toxicity in that. And I think having demonstration spaces where, sure, it's a little weedy, but there's still lots of crops without plastic is pretty darn important. We found a farmer not too far from here who's growing beautiful hay for his cows and has these leftover round bales. We're getting them for $20 a piece, which is just an absolute windfall. They're unsprayed, and he uses a bale chopper, so we can use this as a deep, deep mulch. Coming into early August with wildfire haze in the sky and cicadas going crazy in the hedgerows, we're definitely coming into the dense heat dryness of summer and starting to very much shield the soil in deep, deep ways with hay. Pays off immensely. You can see here we had a new person named Clay who came to visit yesterday and volunteered. He plugged in and helped distribute. So this row of about 150 or so tomato plants got a good deposition of hay. So we don't water them, but we conserve the water that's down below. The hay also helps reflect light up into the plants, but keep the soil from splashing onto the leaves and the fruit. So the fruits are cleaner, the tomatoes get a little bit less disease, and you can kind of see that's part of the work that has to happen this evening is the first serious round of picking. Sasha's going to be doing some canning. We have about 300 tomato plants out in this field, and we are not planning to sell tomatoes, so it's going to be interesting to figure out what we do with them. Feels like every year they find homes. I think I documented this trellising system in the past, and if so, I'll find the video and link to it here. This is it's a decent system. This is, I think, the second year maybe with this Hortonova material. Maybe in the future we can figure out a better system, and I'm really open to hearing folks' ideas. But the idea is this acts a little bit as a deer deflection system and a trellis we can clean the tomatoes up in the fall, lay them all back down, and then do another vining crop the next year. And we do not manage them with the level of detail that a commercial farm would do, but this Hortonova lets us just take leading stems and kind of push them back through, weave them through. Like the Florida weave, but without actually being a Florida weave, just pushing stems back and forth. And then as we harvest the stuff down low, we'll cut and clean and throw it out to mow it, so that eventually we'll bring the canopy up and get a little bit more airflow beneath. But it's not our primary or exclusive crop by any stretch, so it really can't take tons more effort than any other crop in this field. But it's yielding for having no irrigation, no fertilizer, no chemicals whatsoever, certainly no herbicides, just rich soil with ever-increasing amounts of mulch. It's working pretty nicely. Another bed that's feeling really lovely to me at the moment. There's still another round of weeding or so, probably 2 more, but it's starting to lock in a good way. This was garlic a few weeks ago, if you can imagine. Lots has happened in this bed in particular. We put in some really nice transplants, some larger transplants from our Amish friends of mainly cabbages in the center, with good spacing. There's also perennial kale, which we can see if it wants to perennialize in here. Cabbage will be a ground covering fall crop for us, and we flanked all of them with really intense aromatic perennial herbaceous allies. So there's summer savory, there's marjoram, there's oregano, there's lemongrass, there's blue hyssop on the boundary. And so we followed the garlic with a storage coal crop for us running through the center, and then perennial olfactory protection for that. because rabbits and deer come from the outside here. Once the cabbages come out, this will not go back to garlic, but will rather migrate into being an entirely perennial bed. So all the aromatics on the edges will be there to protect perennial crops in the center. That's to be determined what that will be. Maybe it's elderberry plants that grow and we take cuttings. Maybe it's a production block of currants that we can harvest stool layers from. I don't know. We don't need to know that yet, but we're transitioning it out of an annual cropping system by doing garlic, then putting in some annuals that are really big to get us to the fall, but with perennials that can then fill in later on. We're doing a fair bit more of that in this field. Each edge of each block of the field will migrate more and more towards perennials. I need to get back to digging onions and potatoes and harvesting tomatoes shortly, so I'll wrap this video up soon. Let me know in the comments what sort of areas in this field you'd like to see more exploration. We're really pleased with how well it's evolving. Having permanent raised beds that we do no or minimal tillage at all in the interior, but having permanent walkways. So we have a little 18-inch wide rototiller that we just recently invested in, where we can rob the walkways to get soil to hill potatoes or to bank around peppers to help them stand up, to go deeper and deeper in the walkways. So you can see the three-dimensionality of this. So intense rains can come down into the walkways. If it was bare soil, it could be a little bit erosive or a challenge if it runs off. But what we're doing is refilling the walkways back up to grade with hay and wood chips and things to absorb all the water and give us a nice smooth footpath. Then we can grind that and refeed it to the beds later on. None of the plants seem to be complaining with this system. I'd love to get some opinions if folks feel like we're on the wrong track or right track, if they've tried similar ideas. Potatoes are on track to be a beautiful harvest this fall. These are our Peruvian purple potatoes growing here. They have every 4 to 6 feet a broom corn. Juan expressed interest in growing broom corn, so he started a bunch from seed that he transplanted in. We did all the hilling of the potatoes that we needed for the season, and then put the corn, those broom corn, in the center so that they can grow along with the potatoes, and then we'll harvest the broom corn in the fall when it dries down and then dig the potatoes out. I love the idea of having these potatoes in double rows that holds the option of maybe a giant sunflower crop or amaranth down the middle or some other really tall, beautiful summer crop, and get the timing right so we take the final harvest off of the top of that grain crop and then harvest our potatoes from down below. Anyway, there's so much more to look at in here in the realm of cover cropping. Some experiments that have worked pretty well. Buckwheat's been a lovely companion for following garlic for us this year, even with dryness and with tons of birds eating seed. Wherever we put thick seeding of buckwheat, they're coming up strong. The deer are eating it, but that's fine. They're eating a cover crop and they're putting poop right on the beds as they go. But we've got lots of digging to do this fall. Tons of beautiful, huge river locusts. This is a block of them there. And third-year persimmons that should be 4 or 5 feet tall for local sales. And just lots and lots of food in all directions. Carrots, potatoes, onions, leeks, all integrated in gentle and thoughtful ways, I hope, with nursery crops. So onions, whole bunch of pink currants, and leeks, because why not? Nursery in the middle, our foods on the edges. It's a really lovely baseline pattern to follow. That's all I got moments-wise to share in what's happening in the field. Let me know what you'd like us to dive deeper in. I gotta get back to harvesting here. And again, a reminder, if you are interested in garlic grown at a human scale with no plastic, no irrigation, no fertilizers, no chemicals, completely organically, and at a price that I think beats any conventional wholesale garlic offering of seed, really nice quality stuff. Let us know. Down in the description you can go over to the website and find that very easily. Place an order sooner than later just so we can wrap it up and send things along. And there's a whole garlic playlist that shares notes on how to hold the garlic, store it, how to plant it, think about co-planting with trees. So check that out if that's of interest. Thank you so much for watching. Hope your summer's going beautifully.